DStyleBoxing here. How can I not do a video when we just saw the heavyweight championship of the world get defended last Saturday? How can I not come on here and do a boxing video over a political video, over a wrestling video, over any video? How can I not do a video about that? Somebody's got to pump it up. There was a unification match, a title unification for 3 out of the 4 major belts on the line in one fight. High stakes, right? I mean, that's huge. 2 undefeated heavyweight titleists, 2 champions for 3 out of the 4 belts, unification. Where's Don King when you need him? I mean, where's the promoter when you need him? That sells itself, folks. That sells itself. But not here. Oh, no. Didn't sell here. Not in the States. Look, I'm sure, look, I know. In England, it was hot. You know what I mean? I get that. New Zealand, hot. You know, in the 2 little islands, it was the hottest shit in town. I get that, right? When it came to this fight, the shit didn't stink. I get that, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. It was all, you know, roses and shit. It was the biggest event ever or whatever, right? In those 2 little islands, you know, because that's what they are. In those 2 countries, hey, God bless you guys. Big event. You guys had fun. You know, I'm not disputing the fact that that was a stadium. Right? I mean, a whole damn stadium sold out, singing Sweet Caroline. I mean, I thought I was watching a pop concert. What the hell's going on over here? You know, I was thinking to myself, what's going on? Is that Lady Gaga about to come out? I go, what is this? And then I said, man, Vince McMahon better take some notes. I mean, that's how you do an entrance. Damn. You know, I mean, it's nothing new to me. I've been watching heavyweight champion fight in stadiums for quite a while. And it was Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko, by the way. And by the way, some of their stuff before the fights was even better than that. Right? So let's not act like we never seen people fight in stadiums before. Right? Let's not act like it's a new thing. I know that's like in style right now for whatever reason. You know? You know what they call it here? They call it a gimmick, is what they call it. Oh, you can call 60,000 people. Yeah, release the gate numbers, please. Let me see those gate numbers, right? You got Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua talking like this is where it's at now. This island of England is the mecca of boxing. This is where it's at. We're not going nowhere. We're staying here. Look at this, they say. Look at the stadium, 60,000 roaring. I get it. You got a big arena. In your island, I mean, everybody cares about that fight. I get it. Cool. Nothing wrong with that, right? We know you were a gold medalist. We know your country basically, you know, backed you up from jump. That's a beautiful thing. Nothing wrong with that. But let's not, you know, inflate our egos, though. Let's not let our head get a little too big. It's like a balloon. It can pop. Let's not act like this is the mecca of boxing now. Like this is where it's at. You know, release those gate numbers and let's compare it to some of the big fights in Vegas. That's what I thought. Because Manny Pacquiao could sell at a stadium in the Philippines. There's a reason he fights in the States. I'm sure Lomachenko could fight in stadiums over there in Ukraine. But he fights in the States. There's a reason fighters from all over the world fight in the United States. There's a reason for that. And not like in England, okay, it's not just when it doesn't have to be an American fighter in that card. And not like England, they don't have to be fighting an American for the fight to happen in the United States. That's just the reality of the situation. All right? You don't shoot the messenger. Back to my point. In those 2 islands, I understand that it was hot shit. Don't let me spoil your fun. I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad you were singing Sweet Caroline and all that, right? The fight was a little uneventful, but that's okay, right? It was a chess match. I don't got a problem with that. Things happen, right? But let's talk about the numbers it did in the U.S., all right? Now, I just finished watching a video by Dan the Man, all right? And shout out to Dan the Man Boxing. Subscribe to his channel. Great. I go to his channel sometimes. You can catch me live there. I can't do live in my own damn channel. So you can catch me live sometimes. All right, so you might see D-Style live there, so subscribe. But let me tell you something. Dan Man, I disagreed with that video, man. Let me tell you why. Then the man came out and made a case as to why Anthony Joshua versus Parker, or Joseph Parker, right, was not a flop. Why the event was not a flop in the United States and in general. And then Dan the Man proceeded to give the reasons as to why it was a flop. Now, he didn't realize he did, but he did, right? And when he said it was Saturday afternoon, the people were at work, right? When, like, oh, but Showtime didn't spend any money on that. So, you know, like, all they did was buy the broadcasting rights. Like, if that comes cheap or something, like, you know, like if like the broadcasting rights cost like $10, you know, that costs a lot of money. That comes out of the boxing budget. That comes out of the pockets of the boxing budget, right? So if this event gets low ratings, whoever's in charge of Showtime Sports, who's that, Espinoza? He's got a boss to answer to. And he's got a lot of splaining to do. Okay, he needs to look at his boss in the eye, okay, and explain to him why they paid so much for this event and it only got like 430,000 viewers. He has to explain that. Something went wrong with the marketing. So something went wrong because we spent way too much money for that many viewers. What's up, Espinoza? I didn't see a jump in subscribers to Showtime. What's going on? When his one movie premiere came out, which we spent a fraction of that for, we got more viewers. What's going on? And we could play that movie all month long and people will still want to watch it. Nobody wants to see that boxing fight anymore. Of course it was a flop. If you have to explain the reasons why it was a flop and why it's not no big deal that it got low ratings, you know, that means it's a flop. Point blank, period, right? Klitschko used to fight like in, you know, where he had fights where he wasn't in the United States, fought on HBO. The shit still got, you know, over 1 million views. You know, let's not act like this can't be done. Gennady Golovkin and Cal Brook almost doubled these numbers. Okay, that was on a Saturday night. Well, we're gonna act like Saturday afternoon. I'm sorry. We're gonna act like Saturday afternoon isn't a good time to have a sporting event. All of a sudden, they used to have boxing on Saturday afternoons all the time until college football took over. You're telling me college football is doing it all wrong? You're telling me all these people have time to do tailgating and watch all this shit religiously, but they're all working Saturday afternoon? There's no college football on TV. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't even in college basketball. Well, wasn't the final on Monday or something like that? There was none of that. And it wasn't going on at that time. I'm about 99% sure about that. There was no real competition on TV, ladies and gentlemen, right? I say this, okay, with a heavy heart. It doesn't give me pleasure to say this. I'm as big as a boxing fan as you're going to find. But those numbers Anthony Joshua did on Showtime are an embarrassment to the sport. That's just the reality. Now, I'm blaming the sport of boxing. All right? This fight was for the heavyweight championship of the world. The heavyweight championship of the world unification. Two undefeateds clashing. This isn't good, man. This is not good. It did 200,000 less than the Klitschko fight. Klitschko was coming off a loss. All right? Even after that Klitschko fight, which all over social media, and nobody knew that Anthony Joshua was fighting. Nobody knew about it. Nobody asked about it. It wasn't trending anywhere. It was trending in the UK. Man, the UK was trending hard. Right? Man, in the UK, it was trending hard. Right? In New Zealand, man, hottest shit in town. I get it. Right? But that's it? This is all we get? That's not good. How is Gennady Golovkin and Cal Brook going to get more views than this? Or can he at least get close to that? And let me put in perspective for you guys, okay? Any boxing fight on Showtime already has like a guaranteed number of viewers, right? Now, I don't know exactly where those numbers are now, but I do know that at one point, at least like 90,000 were just from from DVR. There's people that have boxing, they're subscribed to Showtime, and they have their DVR set to record boxing automatically there, right? So let's say it's there. Let's say it's about 90,000. So you're telling me 90,000 they're already on deck. No matter what, you're going to get 90,000. And then you have the people the overlap from whatever they were showing on Showtime before the fight started. Those views count too. People that just let the TV on, okay, and they just left it on, and something else started showing after that. I mean, that's why whenever there's like a replay of a big fight, like a Pacquiao or Mayweather fight, and then they put a live fight after that, they tend to do better ratings. The ratings die down towards the middle of that fight because people start changing the channel, right? So you're going to get at least like 150,000 almost guaranteed. No matter what, you're going to get that. So in all reality, how many people actually turn on the TV with intentions of wanting to watch that fight live? Not that many. And that's not good. And the sport of boxing needs to look itself in the mirror and realize, the way we're doing and conducting business is not good. Maybe we got to start giving people more fights more often. Maybe we got to start giving people the fights they want to see more often. And we shouldn't praise the sport when they do it. Okay? We should always say, I want more. Give me the fight I want another fight I want. I'm not satisfied. I'm not going to be one of those boxing fans that finally gets what I want and just stays content. Now, what are you guys complaining about? We had this fight and that fight. The whole sport should be loaded with fights we want, and we should be asking for more and more. That's why we're fans. All right? A lot of you guys, you finally get a fight you want, you're telling everybody to shut up, and what are you complaining about, and this, that, and the third. The sport has a bad reputation. It's got a bad rap. This is a bad sign. Of course it was a flop. You're telling me right now that Showtime executives thought to themselves, oh, wow, man. If that's our goal is freaking 400,000 viewers. That's our goal. Like, that wasn't their goal. Everybody knows that. And before somebody says, nah, man, but that's because the fight was in England. Let me tell you, he's a British fighter. Like, look, man. You put Lennox Lewis, okay, in a stadium, okay, over there in the UK, okay, on Saturday afternoon, he ain't going to just get 400,000 viewers. That's just not going to happen, all right? That's just not, all right? With that said, okay, America is still where it's at. I'm sorry to inform people, okay? And there's a lot of like, oh, well, why in America? Well, this is where almost everybody from the world wants to come fight to, right? This is where it's at. Right? It ain't nothing in the UK unless you're fighting a UK fighter. Everybody knows that. Here in America, you got opportunity. There's money here. Right? We got HBO on deck. All right? I mean, you know, Time Warner, billion-dollar corporation. Showtime on deck. They're owned by CBS Corp. Right? Billion-dollar corporation. And you're telling me that these two entities, all right, are willing to fork up a bunch of money to get Deontay Wilder, Joshua here in the States? Do you really believe, okay, that a stadium of 60,000 people is going to bring in more money than that? No, it's not. Okay, it just isn't. And UK, you're just too small. Okay, it's just too small of a country. Okay, that's just the reality. Sure, you could put the fight on pay-per-view over there, but you guys only sell the pay-per-view like for $20. Okay, here in the States, they sell as a pay-per-view. Okay, one of the biggest fights, we have to pay $100 for the fight. Okay, that's just the way it is. They just charge more here. We'll fork out more money. We're gonna fork out the money. Look, UK is they're gonna fork out their cash for this fight regardless, right? When people say, "Oh, this is where the money's at," let me tell you something. Every single person in that stadium is gonna spend money on pay-per-view. Okay. So you're going to subsidize a lot of that money anyway. Okay? They're going to stay up late. They're going to buy the fight on pay-per-view. Eddie Hearn knows that. Joshua knows that. Right? That's just the reality of the situation. If you want Wilder Joshua to be a worldwide event, it's got to happen in the States. This is where it's got to be. You got to do it here. You got to do it in Vegas. You could do it in New York, right? The taxes are just high over there, right? But I'm telling you, Vegas is where it's at for these big giant fights. You want to compare gate numbers for big fights? We can do it all day, right? Eddie Hearn could sit there and mock, you know, oh, it's only 14,000, all he wants, right? But if we sit down and we talk money and we talk what people pay for those seats, that's a whole nother level of talking. Right? They'll travel. UK, you got UK money. They're going to buy the pay-per-view regardless. They're going to stay up and buy it. They all know they are. Okay? Sure, they'll complain about it, say it's unfair. They're going to spend the money anyway. Right? But if you want to maximize the potential earning power that this fight could make, you do it in the US of A. I'm just telling you that. I'm just being honest. All right? I mean, you do it in the UK, it'll be kind of Klitschko versus Hay. I mean, that's what it'll be, as far as how big it would be. You know, we might get 700,000 people to watch it, you know, on Showtime on, you know, afternoon or something like that. But you market it here. You market that fight here. Okay, you have Joshua and Wilder on Jay Leno and, you know, on all these other, you know, late night shows and on The View and all this other shit. I'm telling you right now, that fight will blow up and we'll be talking real money, right? HBO and Showtime aren't playing around. They want the fight right here. Then the man wants to talk about, oh, they want to be in charge of production. Max Calman wants to do that face-off so they could put it on HBO because that shit's going to sell. All right? And the money is there. Don't worry about all this other, you know, distraction shit. Oh, Wilder's only fighting in front of 6,000. Don't you? The fight's going to sell. Don't you worry about that. The money, in the U.S., we got it. We got this. Okay? The money's there. Don't you worry about it. UK money, we got that money, man. That money is cake. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to fork out their money anyway. Use your common sense. Come on, how much were those tickets in the nosebleeds in that big stadium? How much were those tickets? Okay, I can't find the gate number to save my life. Okay, how much were those? How much did they cost? The pay-per-view costs the same. They're going to spend money on the pay-per-view. You know, like, there you go. You know, they're going to spend money anyway. UK dudes are going to spend their money anyway. right? Sure, they're not going to be able to go to London and you know, fork out their little, you know, nosebleeds, you know, tickets and shit, but they're going to spend that money on the pay-per-view, all right? So 60,000, they'll buy it on pay-per-view in the UK. You'll subsidize that money that way, all right? And you want to if you want people to spend real money, you put that shit in Vegas, and then you have the high rollers show up. And you know what happens? You know what happens, right? These casinos pay you. They'll pay you. They'll fork out $20 million for you to have the fight here. Because all those high rollers, like the real high rollers in the UK and in Europe, they're going to show up and they're going to start betting on this fight. That's what the casinos want. High rollers in the US, they're going to show up. They're going to bet on that fight. That's why Vegas is where it's at. All right? It's not by accident that all the big fights, you know, happen in the US, man. It's not by accident. So, you know, if you want that real money, you know, this is where it's at. And the only reason I'm making this argument, if Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua would have just let it be, right, then fine. But you want to act like this is where it's at. You want to act like, you know, we're the mecca of boxing now. You want to fight me, you got to come here because look at this. Look at this big arena. Like you're special somehow, you know. Klitschko sold out stadiums all the time. He still fought in Madison Square Garden. Vitaly Klitschko still went to the Staples Center, I believe, like 2 or 3 times. And they always said how important that was. They acknowledged it. Tell me, Anthony Joshua? I'll give Anthony Joshua a pass. I mean, he's young. But Eddie Hearn? Eddie Hearn. You think it's an accident? You think it's an accident that even Carl Frott says, hey, you know, you want to go fight in the U.S. sometimes, right? You think that's an accident? You think it's an accident that Lennox Lewis himself is saying, I would love to see Anthony Joshua fight in the States. I don't think he doesn't know what he's missing out on, right? But we have to hear, oh, back in the day, all the British fighters, we have to go, you know, over there to America, you know? Like, I'm not saying life is fair, right? And we can have a long conversation about, you know, how is it fair that, you know, America is a mecca of boxing? Well, you know, it's not fair that America is where all the money's at. Well, hey, you know, I know it's unfortunate, right? But Eddie Hearn, man, I'm telling you, staying in the UK, you know, it's like owning a mom and pop shop and not wanting to expand the business, right? That's just the truth. If you want the fight to be the biggest fight in the history of England, you know, like if you want it to be like the hottest shit in England that year, then do the fight in the UK, right? Like if all you care about is it's all about England and in this island, like this fight's going to be the biggest shit ever, then by all means do the fight in England. If you want the fight to be a big event, right? If you want the world to pay attention, if you want the world's attention, if you want everybody to be like, whoa, I got to see that shit, all right? Then you got to come to the country that owns Hollywood because we're the ones that do all the big blockbusters, okay? That's just the way it is. You got to come to the country that holds all the records for gates. Okay, not attendance, the gate, the money that was forked out for those fights. That's where you got to come. That's just the reality of the situation. Right? But hey, look, if you're content with it being the biggest event in the history of England, then by all means, you do that fight in England. Right? I mean, it'll be right up there with, you know, Lennox Lewis versus Frank Bruno. You know what I mean? Like, people will debate, like, which one was bigger? You know, but if you want this fight to be big around the world, you know, if you want to be isolationist about this fight, by all means, break records in England and pay-per-view records in England and break the gate record in England. You know, do all this crazy shit. You know, break the attendance record and have it in the biggest possible arena possible. You know, do whatever you got to do, right? You do that. But if you want to make more money, If you want this fight to be big around the world, you got to do this fight in the USA. Everybody knows that. Even those that will type down, I'm wrong, this, that, and third. You know it. I know it. I'm out.